Hey guys, this is Pablo with Meditation Amsterdam, once again making a video out of the beautiful city of Madrid in the little lovely La Latina neighborhood. And today I want to talk about the topic of mourning and sadness. And I don't want to get too much into the dynamics of processing emotion and things of that kind. I think there's some other videos that I've made which go a little bit more into that particular angle. But I wanted to comment more on the notion that whenever we find ourselves in a situation of mourning a loss of either a situation we used to enjoy, a person we used to be with, someone who has passed away or so, that which tugs at the heart is only ever the death of an idea or a notion that was serving a kind of pacifying function for our psyche. And this has become more and more clear as I've engaged very intensively in the work of clearing out trauma and emotional baggage. And the way you could look at this in order to make it a little bit more clear for yourself would be to paint the opposite picture and realize what, by contrast, what is the difference between the loss of something you care about versus the loss of something you do not care about. So we are, as a matter of fact, losing an infinite amount of things and experiences at every single instance in a way that is irretrievably so. I read somewhere a couple of days ago, can't remember where, that God doesn't repeat himself, meaning that every moment as it passes by is irretrievably lost in its uniqueness, in the unique combination of experience that it offers you. And in that loss, we lose several things, right? You lose certain visual experiences, certain somatic experiences, certain emotional experiences, and so on. And but it is rarely the case that we mourn that loss. Now, when you do some serious meditation work, you might encounter the mourning of that loss in that you need to come to terms with the inexorable impermanence of things. And when that impermanence really actually hits, it hits very, very hard, because you come to realize that everything is infinitely fleeting. But as I said, by contrast, what we tend to do is we tend to reify processes that are fleeting, such as a person or a relationship or a life situation or an object that we possess. And we tend to erect pillars, emotional pillars out of these things in our life. In the Bible, that would have been called something along the lines of adoring an idol, right? So we erect these mental idols in our mind that we adore. This adoration, in Lord of the Rings, that would have been the adoration of the precious, for example, right? The ring. And we do that because it provides emotional cover. It provides us with cover against precisely what I mentioned earlier, which is the inexorable, unstoppable impermanence of things, in which time just consumes everything like a great fire, right? And that is such a bitter pill to swallow that we instead create these little islands of supposed safety in our mind, and and we nest within those, and it feels very cozy, and so that's what psychology would call healthy attachment, and which Buddhism would just call attachment, which creates pain. It just creates a very kind of a dull kind of pain, a pain that is so repressed that we are hardly ever willing to actually look at until we start to do the actual work of self-cultivation. When we do, we come across deep mourning for the loss of idols that we had, mental idols that we had erected in our mind, which bear the face of a person or a situation or a possession, typically. It may also be an idea of a future achievement that holds the promise of delivering that which you want to feel, and which provides once again that cover that we feel that we require, unless we are really ready to completely face the music of what's up. And so this video is not meant to minimize what it feels like to lose someone important in our lives, for example. I mean, to mourn someone that's significant is a tremendous experience. But as always, if we want to take things a little bit further, and we don't want to make that pain just mindless, useless pain, if we want to use that pain as the catalytic element in our self-cultivation process, then we must come to realize that that pain is there because the loss of the person masks the loss of the emotional coverage that the idea of having that person in our life creates for us. And it can be coverage for impermanence, as I said. It can be coverage for feeling insignificant, or feeling not seen, or the fear of death, the fear of wasting our life. I'll make a separate video on that one, by the way, because that has a huge implication in itself. It can provide coverage for just about any unprocessed fear, and eventually the fear of not being, which is, of course, the core of all fears. And it is in the understanding what it is that we feel we lost when we lose that person that we are forced to fulfill that loss inside, in the absence of that person. I can give a personal example of this. The loss of my father triggered, of course, a lot of grief, and I am forced to come to terms with the fact that I'm only really mourning a memory. The physical absence of that person evokes an emptiness of what exactly is the question. It's a void and an emptiness that feels painful, and I project that emptiness, just like when we project anger at another or this kind of stuff. Grief projects an emptiness onto the other person, but it is an emptiness that is in us, and we are, if we are sincere about the exploration, compelled to explore what that emptiness is about. In my case, it might be the emptiness of a presence that was enthusiastic and protective in my life. And so that makes things all of a sudden a lot more clear. And I go, well, that means that I feel an absence and a lack of ability to create enthusiasm and protection in my life. Oh, that's very good. Let's go straight there. That's not to say that I want to make my dad redundant because he's just not even there, but I want to make the memory of him emotionally redundant in a way that is healthy, so that I can hold that loving memory without feeling like there's an emotional tug inside in the form of grief, which really stands for I lack something now that that person is gone. And now, because of the commitment of self inquiry and self cultivation, I want to know what that loss is representing inside in emotional terms. So normally when we speak of grief, we tend to sort of carefully dance around the subject. Giving people condolences can be a very awkward situation. We don't want to say the wrong thing. We absolutely don't want to minimize the loss when people are in a grieving situation. And this is not to minimize any of that, nor to say that suddenly we should not support people in their grieving process. This is an angle that goes into when we are in the path of self-cultivation, and if we are sincere about that process, then we want to really utilize that grief to drive a profound exploration of what is the lack that we are grieving for, because the person is gone. So we are only now grieving an idea the moment that person is gone, and we want to know what that idea stands for. And if we investigate that deeply enough, and that's the main gist of this video, we will come to realize that we are grieving an idea that was providing emotional coverage for a sense of lack that we have not yet processed, and which is still incomplete within us. Or at least that is the idea that I'm proposing in this video. So as usual, I'm very curious what you guys make of the topic, and do share it in the comment section. And if you believe that these topics can be helpful to others, then your liking, sharing, and subscribing is very motivating to me. It also makes the channel much more visible out there so that others can benefit from it. So thanks for watching, and I'll be back with more pretty soon. Cheerio. Bye-bye.